And we're going to be studying this morning on Noah and Noah's Ark. The title of our lesson is God Saves. It's on page 41 of our book here this morning. And we're going to be talking about Noah building his ark. And one of the questions that I think that a lot of folks ask is, why? Why did God want Noah to build this giant ark? And probably knows the story of Noah, I think. And before I go any further, in case I accidentally say Jonah, and it's very likely I will say Jonah every now. So you just like stop me. You mean Noah? Because I get those two guys. I do that unconsciously. But Noah,
It's the boat thing.
yeah, it's a boat and a fish. It's all about water. So God is going to have Noah build this ark, and everyone I think is familiar with this story in one sense or another, and we've made movies about it. And he's going to God is going to put all the animals on the ark. Everyone knows that story. And so I guess the point is, I say again, why was this going to happen? Why is God going to destroy the earth and all of this? And that's the big question. And our lesson text is Genesis chapter 6 and 7. And last week we left off with chapters 2 and 3. Well, it looks like we're skipping chapters 4 and 5. Well, what's chapters 4 and 5 about? It's pretty significant, isn't it? I am going to back up just a little bit, but chapter 4 is Cain and Abel. We know that story, don't we? We could call that story of Randy and Terry. But there wasn't no killing going on.
That's right. There was no.
Yes, sir, Howard.
I was trying to catch up on.
Okay. In the descendants of Adam, chapter 5 really goes into detail of the descendants of Adam, and it tells the who's who. And it finally gets to the part where Noah is born and who his father was. Who's Noah's father? Mr. Noah?
Looks like Lamech.
Noah Sr.? Yeah.
Lamech.
Lamech. Hang on a second.
It starts with an L.
From Terry? No.
It's always
Still giving me
Noah's son
updates on
up.
the game. So Noah's born, and then Noah, when he was 500 years old, he had kids. He waited quite a while. What was Noah's kids' names?
Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Which one would you like to be?
Which one?
I would
Not
never
Ham.
want. No, I wouldn't want to be Ham. No.
Ham was the one that walked in
Right.
while Noah had gotten intoxicated and was laying on the bed, and he saw him laying there naked, and so he laughed about it. And so when
Not a good thing.
Noah came out and discovered this, then Shem and Japheth had actually gone and covered him up. But Ham, since he laughed, then he was cursed, and so Ham ends up being basically the father of the Canaanites and all of the ites. So he ended up with the curse.
There you go.
I wouldn't want to be Ham. if
And
I
Terry,
had to be
and
one
as
of them.
Terry said, who wants to look at a 500-year-old naked man?
Oh.
I'm not
Something
making
wrong with
any
that.
comment on that
All right.
whatsoever. We are on TV, by
Yeah,
the way.
all right. Now, chapter 6, though, it starts in verse 11 is where our lesson starts. And it says, now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with wickedness. Okay, what was going on? What was going on the earth that was causing all this wickedness? And as he describes here, what was going on?
Same thing that's happening today.
Exactly. Psychomorals.
Okay. And something though that I wanted to address just for just a little bit to get some feedback on it. In chapter 6:4. Okay, here we go. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days. The Nephilim.
What's Nephilim?
Okay,
Good question.
throwing it out there. Here we go. Because what did they do? They were, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, they bore children to them. And those were the mighty men who were of old and men of renown. Now there's lots of ideas as to who these people are.
Fallen angels.
Could have been, not sure.
Sorry, there's a what? Sir?
Fallen angels.
Could have been. I don't know. I've heard this, but I don't know if they're.
Was the fallen angels?
Please forgive me, but I don't know if they can have offspring. You know what I mean? I don't know how to. This is still a mystery to me. I do not know exactly who they might be. Who else could they be? I do not know, but nonetheless, they were here and they were corrupting the world and they were raising havoc. And God said, "That's enough. That's enough." And it says here in verse 5, "Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man, and he was grieved in his heart." See, this is a side of God sometimes that is even difficult for me, because he says he's sorry that he made man, and he's grieving. That means he regrets it. That means he regrets it.
Well, let's point out the reason why the theory of it's a fallen angels, because it says Nephilim. The root word meaning is to fall.
Okay.
So that to fall means that, you know.
Was it like the devil?
I have another footnote about when the Israelites invaded Palestine and found there the tall Aboriginal, it's Anakim. They liken them to the Nephilim.
Yeah.
Pronounce it easy to say. Perhaps the huge megalithic structures in Palestine were thought to have been built by the race of giants whose supernatural strength was attributed to semi-divine origin.
Yeah.
So mythology enters in. It says something about
Right.
heroes of old, the legendary worthlessness of the ancient mythology. So
Yeah.
you know, you hitting the nail on the head about something.
They're obviously.
Not natural.
Yeah. You're right. It's obviously it's not natural. It's a supernatural occurrence, and it's been going on, I guess, well, for a long, long time, hundreds of years now. And so they're having offspring, and so they are generating a race of evildoers, and of course, against God's will. And verse 7 in chapter 6 is, "The Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, from man to animals, to creeping things and to birds of the sky, for I am sorry that I have made them." But next verse, "But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord." Thank goodness for that. Or we wouldn't be here talking about it.
You know what I always get hooked up on is this, and I don't, until I just read this a while ago, but it says from man to animals to creepy things and to birds of the sky. And I always wondered, is fish, it's a creature, sea animals, all that kind of stuff. So but then it says everything that has life in it. I mean, a breath in it. So you're like, well, that's every creature, right? But so anyway,
I
I've
know.
always fought with that, thinking, okay, is whenever they had the flood and it's water from the deep, and you know, the canopy of water, it comes down for the 40 days. I wonder if there was dead, you know, fish everywhere. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Sea
don't know.
creatures don't have breath, do they?
Well, they have to have
They have
oxygen.
Water in their gills.
But they
But
take
have
air out of
oxygen.
it.
They take
They
air,
take, but
oxygen.
oxygen ends up in their system.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe.
but right here it says, "Then God said to Noah, I have decided to put the end to every creature, for the earth is filled with wickedness because of them." So, I mean, creature is a word from creation. So I'm thinking of everything that was even created.
So you think the
in
fish
life.
died in the flood or after
I
it
don't
all
know.
dried
No,
up?
I mean, I've always struggled with just that. I was
Could be
thinking,
natural.
okay, the earth is flooded with, but then you're like,
Well, we
I wonder
don't
if
know. I mean,
fish-
it says the earth opened up and it flooded everything. We don't know how deep was that water. Hot? It could have been
That's what I'm saying.
steamy. It
That's-
could have killed
That's what
everything
I'm
at that
saying. It's
point.
coming from the deep. And
Um,
it was,
If it
So you
didn't,
wonder.
and they actually were swimming around all during the whole 40 days,
Well, I'm just
or
thinking
2
about
years
all of the
before they
massive,
actually landed again. But even then, you know, I see fish all the time like that
Yeah.
come down the creek. Well, then the creek dries up. Well, they can't get back to the pond that they came from, so they no
That's a
longer have a
logical
water
plan.
source. So I don't know. But
Maybe
in
I'm
my
the only
opinion,
one
I
who
think they
think that.
died when the waters came up to start
What
with.
do you think?
I think it all died, but you have the creation of DNA, and it was
Yeah.
able to come back. So the substantiality, if he said he destroyed it, he destroyed it.
Right.
If he's going to,
Take it for face value. Yeah.
you know, whatever he chose to bring back was his creation of his DNA. So what I think is very interesting, what you were talking about, what's in the lesson as well, and I couldn't see it alluded, but I could be wrong. But it's, you know, when Jesus is talking, and the Israelites are talking with Jesus, what are these things that we're going to see in the end of days? And what does he say in Matthew 24, 37 and 38? Well, for the coming of the Son of Man will be just like the days of Noah. So we're doing the references, and I'm sitting here
Right.
thinking,
Yeah.
well, if we're going to reference Genesis, we need to find out what Jesus said about. I always do
Right.
that. Like, what is Jesus, and what do the disciples say about
Yeah.
these things? And I'm like, whoa, here we are.
Yeah.
We're going to know the time. And is this occurring, and what are we doing with DNA today? So, go on. I was just
I was gonna ask about this blood moon that's supposed to happen tonight. I thought it was tomorrow.
Well,
It's tonight. It's tonight.
Tonight into early morning.
It's tomorrow in Israel,
It's the
today.
last
tonight.
night.
What about it?
I was just.
Hey, we're gonna have our new
A lot of
body
people
soon.
think
All right.
it's the beginning of the end of
No.
time.
I'm
No,
kidding.
I've heard more people say that.
No, supposedly, and I'm saying it's in a Israeli kind of side, you know, Israel, moon, the rest of the world, the Gentiles, sun.
Right.
So we're talking, we live on a Gregorian calendar, the sun. Israelis, Jews. Would it be a message to us? No. If we're talking a message,
No,
it would
yeah,
be to
no.
Israel, not to us. So
It's
all we can do is enjoy the wonderful
Right.
sight that God gives us.
Right.
And
And it will be the brightest over Israel, over Jerusalem.
it will be a supermoon.
And it's,
It
I
will be
think
over
it's supposed to
Jerusalem.
mark
And
a
it's during their
huge,
high,
right.
high holy service day. So it will be a message,
It's a
whether they get it or not, or whether blah, blah, blah. Because God said eventually he will take what he blinded and he will give them back their sight once he does. We don't have to win. We can't say it. We just get to enjoy what God has.
I think
It's
it marks an activity, something's supposed to happen
Yes.
with
Yeah,
Israel.
they say
and that's,
usually,
that's
generally, but it's not.
Historically,
Some,
it is more
Right.
some activity.
it doesn't ever say. No one has ever said, as far as I know, said on this day we'll
Right.
have an actual activity
Right.
or actual come about. They do say in 1492 and 48 and 67 there are things around there that occurred, but
Right.
you can say there's been a war in 1912,
Right.
you know,
Right,
or
sure.
in 1936. You know,
Right.
God's our Father. We just
And nobody's going to know until when Jesus comes back
Right.
because
Yeah,
Jesus doesn't
Jesus
even know.
doesn't even
He
know.
says his Father will tell him. So we
Okay,
know that.
Let me get us
we're
back
all
on
gonna-
track here with Noah.
So, go ahead.
All right. But God has decided to destroy all living things, and he's found favor with Noah.
Okay.
And which is a good thing. And then in verse 13 in our lesson here, it says, then God said to Noah, I've decided to put into every creature, and the earth was filled with wickedness because of them. Therefore, I'm going to destroy them along with the earth. And this is the second part now. It's called Promise Unfolded. This is where he starts giving him directions to build an ark. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, and make some rooms in the ark and cover it with pitch inside and outside. And he goes into great detail here on the dimensions, okay? And this is how you are to make it. And the ark will be 450, well, in my book says feet long. Does it say that, or cubics?
Yeah, mine says feet, 450 feet long,
Mhm.
75 feet wide, 45 feet high.
But in my Bible, it says the length of the ark will be 300 cubits.
Yeah, it's
Is
they've
that-
translated it.
Does that
to-
translate? Okay.
That's
I
my
didn't know if they-
understanding now. I haven't done the math.
Yeah.
but
Anyway, so you get the idea. It's
Okay.
pretty big. 75 feet wide, 45 feet high. Pretty big structure. And I know you've all seen maybe what we think it looks like. It looks more like a barge, I think. It sits low in the water, I think, so that it will be able to take high waves and in rough water by design. So anyway, God knows what he's doing. That's why he gave him the dimensions of it to build it like this. So it's more buoyant and more resistant to the tidal waves and the rough waters. And it's designed, of course, to put all the animals in. And, you know, a lot of folks have difficulty with this. They're thinking, how in the world can you get all the animals on there? You know, one of each, a couple of each, male and female of each animal species known, and put it on there. Well, Noah didn't do it, did he?
No, God didn't.
Yeah, here we go again. It's a supernatural event, and you have to take this on faith because there's no way that Noah or anybody else could have gathered all these things together.
That's right.
Because for one thing, a lot of them would kill you. And so God made it, again, by faith, that some of these violent creatures just showed up and came on board. I mean, that's my idea of how it happened. I think they just came up and went on board. And now he may have herded them and say, okay, you go over here and you go over here, that sort of thing. But I believe they just showed
sort
up.
of knew. And not only that, he had them in the order that he wanted them to load onto the ark, because you can't, I mean, you wouldn't want to put the elephants and the hippos in there first. You'd wait and put them on the bottom. You're going to have to load it from the top down. So,
See there?
I mean, just stuff that you think about that it's like, God did this. You know,
Right.
he already had it all planned. It was, everything was perfect. And all you got to do is follow this plan.
Right.
And we're the ones that make it difficult because we start saying, well, why did they do this? Why did we do that?
Right.
Why?
And, you know, something else, we may not even realize this either, but I'm not going to even talk about evolution because we're not going there. But don't you think that God could create a mosquito or something? I mean, or whatever. He could create anything he wants. I mean, I know that he created all in the 6 days.
Oh.
But, you know, we're saying, how was there this kind of animal that we've never even seen that we might find in the Amazon right now? We've never even seen named, you know. How do you know that wasn't on there? I mean, I'm just thinking he could create anything he wants. God can do all
You would have to
things.
think that what God put on there was what he wanted from that particular
Right.
time in
Right.
history. And that
I think
even
that's
if they were
probably
ferocious killer animals, they were not on the ark.
Right.
Just like in the Garden of Eden. You know, Adam didn't have to worry about a tiger eating him. It wasn't going to happen.
Right.
It's a perfect world.
Yeah.
Right.
So he created for that change what he wanted. I agree. You have to just
And
faith.
yeah, that I reemphasize that
faith.
faith part because, you know, a lot of people will look at this and go, what? This can't happen. It's ridiculous. But we have found evidence, haven't we, of the ark in Turkey and places up there where they think it
Mount
is.
Ararat?
And so we know it exists. So how do you get up there on that mountaintop? So
Also DNA of the animals. I mean, evolution of the animals. I mean, he may not have had every animal on it that we know today,
That's
or that have come through.
that's what you were talking about.
right. I mean, it could,
It's just
we could get into deep.
Well,
stuff.
mutations cause that. Just simple
Yes.
mutations cause change.
yes.
We, like, for
You don't-
instance,
it doesn't
two
go
dogs.
against
I mean,
science.
we have
Is not-
2 dogs, and
Yeah.
if you breed them different types of dogs,
Right.
you're going to have a different breed. So,
And mutations occur naturally.
Right.
That's just sin.
Okay.
So that can change a species.
Okay.
But again, he gives the dimensions and how to build it. And I won't go into a lot of detail on the directions for it, but it's just to make the roof and finishing the sides of the ark to within 18 inches of the roof. Now that's pretty specific. And you are to put a door in the side of the ark. So on the side of the ark, a big ramp, I guess it's the biggest opening, I guess, for these big animals. So he helps Noah out with the building of it so that it is accessible to every creature. It says, make it with lower, middle, and upper decks. Understand that I am bringing a flood. Now, have they had anything like that before? Have they had, seen lots of water at all? I guess not, have
Not
they?
really,
And-
because he basically watered everything with dew or
With
from
dew.
the ground.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
springs would
Right.
come up in water. They didn't know what a river or lake or an ocean
Rain.
was. They
Yeah,
had never
can you
seen
imagine
rain.
seeing what is this wet stuff?
Right. And so this is going to be something new as well. And I'm, Noah's probably thinking, well, okay, what's a flood? But flood waters on the earth are to destroy every creature under heaven with the breath of life in it. Everything on the earth will die. Now,
My Bible says that it will, it has a picture
And it says that the scholars have calculated that a vessel of this size would hold more than 43,000 tons.
43,000 tons.
Wow.
That's a lot.
So it's 86,000
Skiff, isn't it?
pounds.
Pretty good size skiff.
Verse 18 says, "But I will establish my covenant with you," and he's talking to Noah here again, "and you will enter the ark with your sons, your wives, and your sons' wives." So you see what's going on here. God is getting ready to destroy every living thing on the earth by water. And the only survivors are going to be Noah and his family, very close family. Now, the next part is called Action Taken, verses 11 through 12. "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month of the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the sources of the watery depths burst open. The floodgates of the sky were open, and rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. So it come a gully washer. And so it sounds like the earth cracked open, and just due to internal pressure that God, I think, created, just said, okay, let them have it. The waters came out of the ground, came from the heavens, and I think it just
And you know,
Man.
everybody thinks, and at least I grew up thinking, okay, after 40 days, it's all done and they get out of the ark. Well,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not the case.
Yeah.
It says right here, Noah and his family were in the ark for 377 days, nearly 54 weeks,
A year.
because there was no land.
yeah,
That's
it
Blows
took
my
it
mind.
took a year to recede.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot of
You know what else I
togetherness.
think? You know what else I think's fascinating about that story? It took Noah 100 years to build the ark.
right.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you imagine
Yeah.
a man working on a project
Wow.
that long?
Yeah, that's
That
wild.
amazes me.
and
We can't imagine anybody doing that because we don't live to be 100 years old.
Right.
yeah,
How did he
Sometimes I
do
feel like
that
I worked
100
on
years?
something
That's
that
old.
long.
Yeah, he was old.
yeah.
He was 100 years in the flood king.
I know that. I just can't imagine how a
Well,
person does
supposedly before that canopy
Canopy.
was broke.
We didn't have aging.
We didn't
like
have
Look
the
at Dale
aging.
before
that. What do you mean
189.
canopy? You mean the sun?
No,
In Genesis,
it's like a
1,
greenhouse
it-
effect.
Oh,
We'll
oh.
go through that because that's a whole. We'll tell you.
In verses 13 through 14. Now, on the same day, Noah, along with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and his 3 sons, entered the ark with him. They entered it with all the wildlife according to their kinds, all livestock according to their kinds, the creatures that crawled on the earth according to their kind, all birds, every fowl, and everything with wings according to their kind. So it's getting close to the end here. So God is getting ready to start this whole process. And what amazes me, you guys, who knows, when everything is on board, and God is getting ready to bring the floods, this door is too big.
Mm-hmm. For him to shut.
Who closes this door?
God does.
God. It says in the scriptures, God closes this door. And that is you can look at that as a symbol, like this is your last chance. God will close the door. It's sometime in our history, he is going to close the door again for those that have not accepted him. And he is going to close the door, and you're done. You will never be with him again. But in this occasion here, he closed the door to start anew. Closing that door started anew. And so they're going to live out this storm here for 40 days and 40 nights. And I bet it was rough. I bet it was rough, don't you?
I can't imagine.
And I don't. I was just going to say, that's the first thing I think of, but I don't, for some reason, I guess God prevented that too. There'd be a lot of sick animals on board too. So,
I don't know.
and that's just me throwing stuff in there. It probably didn't happen at all. I think God took care of those small
I think
details.
if God was big enough to herd them all in there and build it exactly to his specifications, and he had all this in mind, then he certainly could have kept everybody from. No harm was done. Nobody was sick. Nothing happened for a whole
Right.
year. They just wrote it out. and may
I
not
know.
have been a cruise line, but it was easy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it was that hard. They had a lot of work to do because they had to feed
Yeah.
all these things, but I don't think they
Just
came out worse for wear.
Animals,
Feeding them probably
much less than humans.
took
Yeah.
all
Had to be
day.
a
Well, how do we know he didn't put them to
Right.
sleep? mean,
I
would
wondered
think
about that too.
they
Me
would put them
me
asleep
too.
for- I mean,
They
a
could have
bear
been.
can
Yeah.
hibernate. I mean,
They
you know.
probably
That's
should
possible.
have
40 days.
Probably not.
Haven't thought about that.
40 days and 40 nights on a biblical counter back then, we just got through saying people live a long time.
Right.
So 40 days and 40 nights was probably just a short time to them.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I often
Just a
wondered,
good night's
just as a
sleep.
side note, if I'd been Noah, I think I would have collected all the ticks and chiggers and mosquitoes.
I said, well, that didn't happen to food and drink.
So,
Sure they have them.
but this is where our lesson today ends. Is that I think.
Yeah.
It
You
does.
know,
right?
I think about the mockery that Noah, building
Yeah.
a boat for something that has never happened before.
Right.
And he didn't do it in secret.
Yeah. I
Something
can't.
this big was probably right in the middle of, town,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
They had to think he was
family and
They did.
everybody in the community, how they
Yeah.
must have mocked him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet his faithfulness continued.
for
because,
100 years.
And I think that's what our faith is supposed to do.
Agreed.
We're supposed to stay on course and
Agreed. Because it talks about how evil the world was. So the naysayers.
it's no different than, 2015. We can't hardly mention the name of Christ anywhere that someone doesn't have a derogatory remark
Correct.
about him or about us as a believer.
Hmm.
It's absolutely no different than what we're experiencing every
Except
day.
that apparently he found only one human that he believed.
He had favor.
I don't know if you
enough
could do
to
that
save.
now.
And think of it, I mean, one person and that person's family were allowed to survive. That's it.
No, he was no good.
We'd be in trouble.
No idea what the Earth's population was at the time, but still,
Regardless of the population percentage.
Yeah.
I mean, one family.
Yeah.
Think of it today. I mean, hopefully there are a lot more than
yeah.
a minuscule amount of people
Yeah.
who believe in Jesus.
And beyond what you were talking about, the you can't say Jesus. I've noticed that, and I've seen some videos of that right there where people are being interviewed for various reasons, and they're okay, they're uncomfortable, but they're okay with you using the word God. But as soon as somebody says Jesus, like they start backing out of the interview. All the time. You'll see us all the time. They'll start backing away. It's like, oh no, we've gone there. We can't say that one. The interviewer gets all nervous. And in sports too, I watch a lot of sports, and they will say, so every now and then you'll get an athlete say, I want to thank Jesus instead of saying
Well,
God.
There's a reason for that. Of course, there's a reason because there are other gods.
Right.
There is
Oh, yeah.
only
It could be
Jesus.
any God.
Oh yeah,
And so not to offend other beliefs and their gods.
right.
And that's the problem, not to offend.
Mhm.
But I think it's more than that. I think it's conviction. I think when you use the word Jesus in public like that, it automatically convicts, because that's what I think the Word of God does through Jesus, is convicts the sinner.
That's true.
And so that's why they are offended, because it's conviction.
That's why Christians are so good.
So
Luke 21:17, it says, "You will be hated because of my name."
mhm.
That's right.
Yeah, because of my exactly. They're so cool.
I think that's it's a short lesson, Steve.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to wind it up here. And I'm going to say goodbye to all of you out there. And thanks for tuning in. So, Steve, would you go ahead and turn us off?
Jesus saves.
Jesus saves.
That boat was a football field and a half long.